the scanner itself. Like there's some refactoring that we have to do because so I worked on it yesterday and it looks very bad. But for now, I'm gonna just I found yesterday a one of the specs for implementing a so we were looking at 2 or 3 days like fucking Sunday we were looking at some of the specs for implementing the in IRC client, but the one we were looking at was like the generic one, which doesn't really explain much. So what I ended up doing was I ended up looking for one that was specifically for a client, for clients. So I ended up looking at this one. So this one was written was updated on 2000. But this one explains pretty much like the different commands and like the different one thing I was struggling with the Twitch client, chat client, was I wasn't sure what certain things meant. I wasn't sure what certain things meant. So I, for example, here, you have these codes here. So you have like 01, 02, and like so on. I wasn't sure what they meant. So I started looking for them inside of the implementation for a client. And what I found is that each number has a meaning, right? So when you first join, you get the welcome message. Then the server tells you a bit about themselves. And then it tells you when the server was created, followed by like a bit more information about the server. So like any like version or anything like that. In the case of the Twitch server, what we get is a bit different. So we still get the welcome message. So this is also being welcome. Then we learn a bit about the host. Then it tells us when it was created. But in case of when it was created, it pretty much says that it's a rather new server. And then you get like, it doesn't tell you more information about the server. And then it jumps to a different status code. So it jumps into the 375, which just means the 375. So again, we could just go through this table and figure out like different status codes that it's gonna send us. So 375 is a message of the day. So when you first join a IRC server, it could tell you a message of the day. In our case, the Twitch chat server is telling us you are in a maze of twists, passages, and all alike, which is kind of funny. So that's kind of what it returns. And then from there on, it tells you like different things about the users that are like joining. And as again, like there's like our usual suspect of a bot. So like it tells you like a lot of information about like where you are, and like the different setups that you have too. So like the badges and all those different things, and like if you post a message with an icon or anything like that, you'll be able to see it. So and you could see me deleting some messages here. So our chatbot is still spamming. So I deleted a few messages, so that's what we saw. And then you see a bit more about myself. So you could see the different like so they have something called tags. They use tags. So Twitch uses tags to add more metadata to their messages. So I learned a bit more about metadata. Tags. So the way that the tags themselves are done. So for tags themselves, they all start with a at prefix. So you have at, so you start with at and then some information, and then you have the key, which is the first part, and then you have an equal sign, and then you have the value for it. So that's pretty much how the Twitch client also does it for tags. And the tags themselves just give you more information about like the kind of the badges and the different things that a message might have. For example, in my case, I have a so we now have a subscription. So I'm a subscriber. So I have this subscriber badge, and then I also have the highest subscription. Let's see where that is. I also have the broadcaster badge. So since I'm broadcasting, I also have the broadcaster badge. What the slash means is two things. It means the version of the badge, but it also means the amount of, for the subscribers, I think it also means the amount of months that I'm subscribed for. So we could look at that. So a message. It was a private message. And yeah, so it tells you the different months that I'm subscribed for. So badge info. And then the color too. So it shows the display color and like the different emotes that I'm using, right? So it gives you the set, but it also tells you like the location of it. And then you have the ID for it. So you have the ID of the message, and then you have like different information about it. So like if you're a moderator, this will be set to 1. Then the room ID, it shows if I'm a subscriber, if I'm subscribed to the channel, and then the user ID, and then some extra information about the user, and then you have the rest of the message. So that's kind of what it does and how it looks. So today I'm just gonna clean up some of the code that I wrote over the past like 3 days, because it ended up turning very scary. So I ended up writing the scanner. So we could go over the scanner. So the scanner itself is just massive. So we have one function that is huge, so we're gonna have to fix some of it. So for the first part of it, I ended up writing some of I ended up creating new tokens for our parser. The ones I ended up splitting it. So these are the characters that we're parsing. So we have colon, add, symbols, semicolons, equal signs, exclamation, hashtag, which is our channels. Then we have white spaces. And then this one is here. Then we have this one doesn't belong there. We are gonna have to do some refactoring here because it's a bit of a mess. Cool. Yeah, we need that. So here we have like left brackets, welcome message from the server. So when we look our message, we have the welcome message. So that's kind of what I'm keeping track here. It's just a welcome message, and then information about the server, when the server was created, and so the information. I ended up just creating tokens for those. So when we're parsing them, we could see them. So that's kind of what we ended up looking at. I ended up working on yesterday, and so I just ended up adding more tokens, and then I have a session for the command. So every time that the Twitch client sends us something over, we have different commands that we could use, right? So we like, if the chat was clear and different things like that, we are keeping track of it here. So we have, first we have cap, which is a bit tricky here because it has two things. It has so yeah, so for cap, it does two things, right? It sends cap as a command, but it also sends an acknowledgement too. So we want to check for both. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. What we ended up doing, right? So we ended up with a message that has two commands attached to it. Then we have ping, which is what every time the server, every 5 minutes, we get pinged by the Twitch client and server, and we have to respond back to it. So we have to constantly reply back. So every time we get pinged, we send back a reply saying like, "Hey, we're here." So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we have that. Then we have every time someone joins, we get a join command. Then every time someone leaves, we also get that. So we just ended up creating a bunch of like commands that the Twitch client is going to be sending to us. And as before, we convert those commands into string to make it easier for us to do any kind of like when we're looking at it, it makes it easier for us to look at. So we did that, then parsing, same setup as well. Now here is the scary part. So because we're not using any regex, we're doing something where we're checking every character one by one. We're checking each character one by one. We are applying, so we are using parsing theory here. So each character is tokenized, and then if there is a value attached to it, then we create a value for it. So this is what our structured value is doing, right? The structured value is giving us the position, and it's also giving us the text. So whatever the value it is that we're doing here. So we just have to go through and just like check. Like 0 means that we have reached the end of the parsing and there is nothing else to parse. So we return the value, but we also return a end of file token. So anything that is doing any parsing or any looping through it could figure out how to stop itself. And then the next thing that we have is spaces. So pretty much the way that a scanner works when it's parsing some text is that it just turns them into creates just tokens, right? It reads the chunk, it determines which kind of token it should use. So in our case here, if this is space, we are gonna create a token. There's no value to it, so a space doesn't have any value attached to it for our client. And then since we hit a space, we are not scanning tags anymore. So these are the tags. So if you look at tags themselves, there is no space between tags. But so if we reach out a space, it means that there's no more tags to read. So we just turn that off. And then there is, so this is the one that is reading tags. So if we find a tag, we turn this on. And with the way we turn it on, maybe I should move things up. So yeah, this function does a lot. So we will end up having to refactor it. So one of the things I want to do today is just go through this function and figure out a way to make it as scary as it is, because it's super massive. So I just want to go through it and just make sure that we change it, we refactor it a bit. So like creating a file that handles tags, for example. So the way it works is that it parses. So it goes through it. It goes through the first character of the message that we got. So here is the @ sign. So we have the @ sign, and then we consume the @ sign. So we use that next to move the pointer. So to move the next value on the string. That's one of it. And the next part that we do is that we create a tag, and then we just close it. We just end the tag right away because there is no information that we need there. And then at the end, we tell the scanner that the next couple of characters are going to come from. They should be treated as tags, because the @ sign symbol represents a set of tags are coming on. The next couple of characters are going to be tags. So then here we just go through. So that pretty much ends the first character. So that we have our first token. So we have our token, which is just saying that we found a @ symbol, and then it returns. When you call next token again, now you're here, and the way that it works for tags is a tag so a tag has after the amp we have the tag key, the key or the field. So we have the field, which is here, and then since we have the field, we are now able to, so we get the field and then it just scans the key. So we have a function called scan tag key, which just goes through and checks every character. It moved the pointer forward until it finds the equal sign. So it would just read all these characters from tag all the way to, from T all the way to 1. It finds the equal sign and then it just returns. So that means that now we have the key for the tag. And then it goes back to our token function. So it returns that token. So we have a token. So it says like, hey, we found the key for a tag. So we return that. Then when we call next token again, is gonna be at the equal sign. So we're gonna parse it, take the equal sign, and then start our token, and then we have another function that just parses that. And then it just goes through it until it gets a space, because a tag value ends with a semicolon or a space, so you could get either one. And then it just ends the tag there. But as you could see, the next function is huge. The next token function is huge. So we might have to change that. We might have to refactor much of it. And there's cases that there's a lot of repetitive call. Like I am calling next. I probably could create a function that could call next as many times as I wanted it to call. Because at some point it gets very crazy, right? So here I had to call next 15 times, so I just ended up doing something like this. Maybe this is the way we want to start handling it. But every time we call next, the reason why we call next so much is because we want to consume the tokens that we don't need, right? So we don't need to keep track of like clear chat. We just need to know that we just want to replace the characters with a token saying like this is what is returning. So that's kind of what we're doing here. But like, yeah, the file is very massive, so we're gonna have to refactor. So yeah, we're gonna refactor some of this code to make it more useful and more understandable. Because like right now it's like, so here I had to call next a ton of times, and I just like copy and paste it next over and over again. So yeah, it's not very. It's like very repetitive, and like there's so much information that is being like is very repetitive and very hard to understand. So I might just end up splitting up some of them into their own functions, but also adding a bit of so splitting them into their own functions, but also adding a bit of like using switch cases and things like that. So one thing I also added, so this is kind of what we're working on, but also one of the cool things, so I became an affiliate. So if you look at the bottom of your chat, you should see a points, and you could redeem some of those points for me to do certain things or for highlighting your message, right? So so one thing that I wanted to get was a way for me to see so I wanted a way to see let's see, unlock a random, nope. So okay, so you could do things like this where you could highlight your messages. So I was just wondering how this would work in the client. So like, how do I know that I have to highlight it? So I wonder, so comparing it to my old one, I could check the message, seeing if there is anything there. No, that's my name highlighted. How do I know? Oh, here you go. So the message ID is highlighted, and then I'm not sure how the color gets picked, so I guess we could pick our own color. But yeah, so this is kind of one of the cool things that we have now, is that we have points, and if you press the number on the bottom, you could see how to redeem some of them, right? So you could suggest things. So I could also do a code review for your code, for example, if you have 3,000 points. So that's kind of one of the cool things that we have now, is that we have points for that you can redeem for different things. We also have subscriptions. So we have 2 subscribers so far. So thank you so much for subscribing. So that's the scanner. We have to do some work here. It's very messy. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of repetitive code that we need to get rid of. But the cool part about it is that now we have, I ended up also writing tests for all of this. The test also needs some work. It's very massive. The file with the test is very big. So I just want to get rid of some of the tests themselves. Sorry, I want to, I might end up refactoring this and making files for the tests themselves. But this is kind of how it looks, right? We have all the different cases that we could handle. So like the different messages that the Twitch server could send. In some cases, it will send us a ping with nothing on it, with no value. So we just have to add an empty value to it. And then same thing here, right? We have like the clear chat command, and like all the different things. I ended up writing tests for it. Which is just so I'm using table-driven testing, which is something that a lot of people in the Go community uses, which is just you have one function, and then that one function could be utilized to you could utilize that function to just run different kind of tests cases where the input is the one that the input and the output are the ones changing. So that means that you write one function and you have an array that has like the input and the output, and you just loop through it. Which is what we're doing on the tab here, is that we're just looping through. We're defining a structure in place and then just looping through it. So there is that, and then so that's pretty much the simple cases, right? Here is the scary ones, which is the one that contain tags. So the tags themselves, we have to learn how to parse them. So it looks huge because the tags themselves are being split. But the way it will work is that our scanner is just replacing the different like places that we need to know where we are while we're doing the parsing. For example, when we get a, let's see where it ends. Yeah, here. So we have tag, right? So we have tag, and then we have an add, and then we have a tag token, and then we could see like where batch info is equal to, and then semicolon. So we have the value of it too, and we have the value of the tag. We also know that there's a semicolon, so that means that that tag ended. And then we have another tag here that is saying like, hey, there's another tag, and the value is the badge, and then the key is the badges, and then the value of the badges. So that's kind of how the tagging works. So I don't feel like I want to keep this all of these inputs in here. I'm just end up creating a file, like creating files for each sys, and just like looping through the files themselves instead of looping through the strings. Because right now this file looks huge too. So that's gonna be the refactoring that we as well. And then I did the parsing, just like simple cases for the parsing. So the parsing itself is very straightforward, because now we have tokens and we can just like go through it. So we get a message, and now we just pass it. We send it to the parser, and then the parser sends it to our scanner. Our scanner scans it, it tokenizes it, and then we get tokens back for the parser to use. So that's kind of the cool thing about the whole like using parsing theory, is that you end up with tokens, and then you can use those tokens for figuring out where you are, right? So you could figure out like, for example, if there's no token command, but we get a colon, it means that we have the username, right? So let's look at our tests, for example. Yeah, so if you get something like this, right, where we get a colon, but we don't have a command already attached to it, it means that we are getting like a username in this case. And then we have the username, and then the next thing that we're expecting is exclamation point. right? So we get the exclamation point, and that means that we now have, so the next token is the exclamation point. So now we know, like, oh, okay, so if the next token is the exclamation point, that means that we are inside of our, we know we have the name, so that we have the username for this command, sorry, for this message, which is kind of what we ended up here. So our parser returns a message structure that has the raw input, so whatever the message was sent from the server to ourselves, and then we have a scanner, then we have the type of command. So if it was a private message, we have that. Then we have the username, which is whoever the user was that made comment, if there's one. Sorry, send the message if there's one. Then the channel that the message was sent to, and then we have the message itself. And then we have the tags. So the tags themselves, I decided to handle them like a map, because then we don't have to parse each tag. So like there's hundreds of tags that you could get. So depending on the kind of messages that you get, you could have these tags, and then you could have these tags. For simplicity, I decided to go with a map, which just treats everything as a string. So we're gonna take the value, and then we're gonna take the key and put it in the map, and then take the value and use as the value for the map. That's kind of how we're gonna handle maps. And then for messages itself, again, because we're using tokens, so we're tokenizing our message. We could do cool things like, if the current token is a message, and the way that a message is defined is if it starts with a, if the command itself is a message. So if you find this token here, we could then be like, okay, so we have a message, so we should send the command that we got was message, so we set as a message, and then we just go and loop through until we get an error, or we find the hash. So every time we go here, we find the hash, then we find that's his channel, so we found the channel, and then we found the message. Maybe one thing I should do, instead of exiting here, if I find both, if the channel and the message, sorry, if the channel and the message themselves are not empty, that means that we're done. So if we do this, we could just exit our for loop. So message. Yeah, so okay, so if in this case, so the way that a parse private message method works is that it checks for if the command that we have right now, the current token that we have right now, is a private message. If it's a private message, then we're gonna drop into our for loop, which is gonna get the next token and its value. Then we're gonna check if it's a scanner. We're gonna check if it's a hash. If it's a hash, that means that we found the channel. So we found this here. And since we found the channel, now we could go and the next thing that we need to find is the colon. So the colon indicates where the message is stored. So that's kind of how we ended up doing it here. So we just went through it and we found that. Cool. So the next thing that we have to do here, so that handles our messages. And then for our test, we are just, again, putting an input. So the input is just a message that the server is going to be sending us. Then we put the different things that we're expecting from it. So the channel, the message, and then the user, plus the command that we are expecting. And then we just loop through it. So again, using table-driven testing, we just loop through that one test case. We feed it into our parser. So we have a function called parse message, and it just feeds it through it. Here it just says the current token to -1, because we could have a token of 0 all the way to 16 or something like that. Then we set the raw message, and then we create a scanner, and the scanner itself is the one that is doing most of the work here when it tokenizes the values. the first thing we do is we call next outside of the for loop, and then we start building each session as we go. So we start building it as we go. So we build first, we try to parse the username, then we try to parse the message, the private message, and then it just goes into it. It reads the next keys, and just keeps going, right? Right now we don't have any other thing supported. We only support adding username and the message. But as we go, we're gonna span these test cases a bit. We're gonna span the parser to handle more things later as we go. So back here, we go back to our scanner because that's pretty much where we're gonna spend most of our time, because it's so massive and there's so much stuff going on. We want to make sure that is working correctly. The one thing I want to change. So, okay, sorry. I just have to change the title of the string because we're not doing any JavaScript today. Just want to make sure that it always says the language that we're going to be working on. Today we're just going to be working in Go most of the time. Okay, so what we have to refactor is this massive. So we have this ginormous function. So we just have to refactor it because it's so big. It does so much work, and we could just start splitting it out as we go. So maybe the first thing I should do is just create a new function where when we call it, if we pass a 5 or 3, it will just do this much work, right? It's gonna call it move forward. It's gonna take an integer and then it's gonna loop through that integer that many times. It's gonna loop that many times by calling next. So that will reduce some of the lines of code that we have here, where we're just calling next a bunch of times. We could just like remove that and make it a lot easier. So that's the first thing I would do. Then the next thing I was thinking about is just how would I structure some of these things in a better way to make sure that we're not doing anything too weird. But yeah, so our parser function just does a lot. So we're going to refactor it. We're going to make it easier for us to move things forward. So we don't have to like call next like 100 times ourselves directly. We just call our new function and then use that function to be able to move the position. So I'm just going to call it move forward. And it's going to take n, which is integer, and it doesn't return anything. No, it's gonna return. We should return what next return. So it's gonna return a row. So in our case, we're just gonna do for loop. Yeah, so we're gonna do a for loop, and then that for loop is gonna we're just gonna loop through it a couple times, depending on what n it is. So we're gonna do we're just gonna start with I. Sorry that, and then we're gonna do if n is greater than if I is greater than n, let's keep going, and then we're gonna increase I every time we loop through it. And then here we're just gonna create a new variable and just call it C. So that's how we're gonna start our character. And then every time we loop, we're just gonna call next. Okay, so the way it works right now is that so we're looping. We're gonna loop here n times. And then during that time, we're gonna call next, and then we're gonna store the last character of next. So we're just reassigning the character. So the first thing we could do is like try this one here. So this one has 1, 2, 3. So has 5. So we're gonna do that. And 5. Cool. And then to make our lives a lot easier, so we have tests. So since we have tests, it makes it a lot easier to refactor. So you could refactor the code and make sure that it works correctly. So I think we broke something. Maybe it should start at 0. So yeah, so our test is failing. So we're passing, what we're getting back from here is not the right thing. And this one is the one we changed, right? So S is for user notification. So put a comment here. Because the function is getting so big and I was losing track of things, I started leaving myself note. Oh, this is weird. Patience. Oh, this is not right. So this is a bug. I wonder why I didn't cache in a test. So the one is that we want is user state. Oh, I know what. Cool. So you might have to change that test a bit. So now I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Drop a note here. But don't forget to change it. So what we're doing here, I wonder if it's because we're starting on 1. Maybe you should start at 0. Okay, yeah, so we should start 0. So our test is passing. So now we took 5 lines of code and we just turned it into so we just turned 5 lines of code into 5 lines of code that we could just reuse in multiple places. So that's kind of the cool part of this. So we just want to reduce all the duplicate information that we're doing, because we have some, like, the more duplicate information, the more duplicate code we have, the harder it is for us to go and fix the places that they should happen. If there's an issue or bug, we will have to fix it in every single place that is broken. So we have to update our tests that is using the wrong. So the label was wrong. Sorry, not the label, the token was wrong. We were using the token for notify when we were supposed to use the token for sorry, we were using the user notify token for user state when we were supposed to use user state in the first place. So now the hard part is finding where this test is, but because we know that it's user state, so yep, so this is the one. So user state has user notification. Yeah, that's not right. So we just have to replace that there. Okay, so also our tag is broken. I have to go to our tag. Yeah, I want to refactor this and turn it into its own files, so it also makes it easier for us to find later on and like fix different things in it. Because again, it's kind of overwhelming to just open this giant file and go and like try to make changes to it. Here is user state. Cool, so the tests are passing now. So we just have to go back and like start using our move forward function to make it like, that's kind of how the first thing we're gonna do is just like stop using next so much, start calling so stop doing this here and use this function here. So we have 1, 2, 3. So this is 6. And then we just delete all of this line here. So it's, again, reducing duplicated code as much as we can. And we run our tests, it should still be passing. And you're just gonna continue doing that over and over again. Oops. So one thing I have to make sure is that when I call next, so here, the cool thing about our move forward function is that we could just do something like this too. So we move forward, and we have to pass a number. So let's see, 1, 5. So we have 5. Yeah, we have 5, and then we're gonna return the 5th one. So yeah, we're gonna return the 5th one here, and we don't need those lines anymore. We're gonna test again. It passes, so we're still good. Yeah, so that's kind of the cool part of this whole thing is like we ended up with a lot of duplicated code, but as long as we go back and refactor the code and like make it more like take off the duplication out of it, then it's a lot better. So for me, like my main goal was to first get it to work, get the parsing going. The second one was like making sure that I didn't just do like things that will ping me and put me in a hole. And then the other one was like I could go back and refactor it. So what I'm doing now is the third one, which is refactoring the code and making it more useful. But our parser works since we were able to use it inside of our parsing tests. So we know that at least some of the parsing works. And it's saying it's not very difficult to use. It's very easy for us to go and pass a message to it, then parse the message and get the different pieces of the message. So you can get the channel, the username, and the message itself. Then we could do a bit of a hard one when we start doing the tags. But first, I want to clean this up because the cleaner it is the easier for us to make changes later on. So here, we could just take this piece here, do move forward, and then we're going to move forward twice. And we want to save C here. So, okay. And then here, yeah. So we're still good. Here we have 1. Okay, so we are calling next here 7 times. So as you can see, it's like we're making him smaller. Like we're making it way smaller as we go. How did it? Yeah, so we are just making it way smaller. Like the line count is being reduced by a lot by us just having created a function that does all the work that we were doing, like calling next ourselves manually. Instead, we have a function that just loops through it and just call next itself a few times, depending on the value that we pass to it. I'm just gonna keep doing that. Just go to every single place that we're calling next in a weird way and getting rid of like extra call. Like we don't need this empty call here. It's kind of cool, right? It's like we are taking like that one function is only 5 lines, and we're removing at least like I think so far we have removed like 20 extra lines of code that we don't need after writing that one function. And again, because we wrote tests, super easy to make sure that what we're doing is working correctly. For example, if I go here and put a 2, our test should just fail. Yeah, so because we have the test, it makes it a lot easier for us to just go back and refactor the code itself to make it more easier. We have 3 here. Here. For this one, we just turn the C to it. We have also 2 here. Here, there. So these ones are okay. I won't change those to 1 because like we don't get anything by changing them. Fine. Here. This one is one of the biggest offenders. For that, we don't break things as we go, and we won't know where we should change rocket, right? Was it the one before or the one now? Okay, so we have off. Yep. Sure. Or here. Also here. Value. So keep going up. This one needs to be I think we're done. And our tests are still passing, so we're good. The next thing I want to do is I'll probably want to split this into its own function. So I need to figure out how that would work, because we're taking advantage of, maybe I could just do a if currency value. So I want to split this into their own functions. So I could split a one that just does for tagging. So anything that has to do with tagging, like this whole block here, I might want to move it to its own function to handle tagging. So I might create a file and just call it tags. But I'm wondering how I will handle it. So let's do that. Let's first create a function for tags. So yeah. And let's use the scanner here. So I'm just gonna reuse the scanner here. So we could reuse the scanner, but so we are adding a new method to the scanner, but we're keeping we're gonna keep it separate from the main file, because the main file is also growing very big, so we're gonna make sure that it's not there. And call it the scan tags. And there's also another function here that I want to move these two functions here. So these two functions belong to scanning tags, so I'm just gonna move their own file too. Okay, so I think that is there. So what I'm trying to do right now is just refactor our next function, our next token function, because it's massive. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I want to go and refactor it and make it more readable, because there is a lot of stuff that could be split up to their own file. It could be their own function. So I just need to figure out how to do certain things, because this function, the way it's acting, is just pretty much taking everything that we see. So it's pretty much taking, it's just like one straight, it's just a giant switch statement, right? It's like checking if it has this. No, it doesn't have that. It just keeps moving on. So we just have to figure out how to handle that in a way that when we create it. So what I see happening is that I'm going to take this here. Right, this is how we parse tags, and I'm gonna put it here. So the issue now is that C doesn't exist, so C. Have to take a value too. So we're going to take C and the value. Okay, so here we are going to do scanner scan tags. Cool. So now I have to figure out what it returns, right? Because if we could return a value, so we could do something like value and It's like a lot, but let's see. So I would use, the way I was thinking about it is I would use scan, and then if the scan is successful, we just return the value token. And token, so it's or well, scan token. Okay, so I'm not sure how I feel about this yet. So it will look something like running. Oh wait, we don't have to return value. Okay, that is also a plus. Okay, so we don't have to return value. So because value is a pointer, we're just updating the value that is being passed from the tab. So we're mutating it. So that means that we don't have to change it. We don't have to return it back to the color. So that is very good, useful here. So here we just have to change this here. And we're going to return the token, and then we're going to return true. And then here for the token, we could return 0. So return 0 because we couldn't find anything, and then false. And then here we could do true and here that return scan, and we return, let's cover it. Okay, so we're mutating value, so that means so we're mutating the value, the pointer for value, which is being passed to the top. So we don't have to worry about passing it back to the caller. So we don't have to return it back because we're mutating the pointers itself. So I mean the pointer itself is just being edited in place. So it's being mutated in place. So I don't need to do this here. Which makes our function a lot easier to understand. Cool. Back here. Oh, I know. Since we don't have to pass the pointer, sure, pass it. It's because the function itself has the same name as the function, so I just have to read. Scan tag, and then back to our tag function, which is what we call it. So okay. Cool. So we run our tests here. See what happens. Cool, they're passing. Okay. Okay, so we ended up taking out at least 50 lines of code from the main file. There's other things that we could make this more useful with, which is we could use a switch statement. No, not here, but in here. C. here, we're going to case, and if case equals here, it's gonna this might improve performance a bit. I haven't done any performance testing for our show yet, but I like cases better when we have a lot of if statements. It's good. How's it going? We factoring like our goal is to end up just making the next token function more readable and more useful. Because right now it's like the structure is very not good. How you do a not case inside of switch? Okay. So I can see. There was a not case. Okay, there we go. So that's not equal sign. I guess I cannot do both cases, so I cannot use like plain ones. So I want to pass a value to it, like this, and then do like a is not equal to that. Oh wait, here is tag turn. I can just use default here. That'll be the default. Because that's the last one. And then here we just do if it's equal to this. Okay, so if there is equals to equal sign, that means that we're means that we are here, and the next thing that we're gonna get is the value of the tag. Okay, I think that makes sense. I don't think we have to do if not equal here. So save it and just run the test to make sure that it works correctly. Yeah, it still works correctly. Cool. Work correct. That works. Sure. Bash. Okay, so I think we're done with the tags. Our tags are working correctly after we put them to their own file. I think the next thing I'm gonna move to their own file, so it's like the different commands. I just have to figure out how to name them. So like there's like global state. There is this one here, which is like there is like so when the thing that's happening here is that there are at least 3 commands that start with the letters, the character C. So we have cap, clear shot, and then clear message. So we will have to figure out how to split this up a bit. One thing that I feel like I want to do is just call it clear, or call it just scan C characters. And then we could end up, yeah, let's do that. Let's just call it scan clear scan C characters. That will make it like, or they're not really characters. Let's call it scan C runes. And this file is too big, so I just want to break it up. So I'm gonna call it C runes. Then in here we are gonna create a new function, sorry, a new method, and we're gonna attach it to our scanner structure, and we're gonna call it and this is a good, but go back to our tags, and we can just like some like the returns and what we get from it. It's gonna return, and it's gonna return 0 and false. Okay, so are scanning our one the same thing that we did with our tags, yeah. I think there's also I don't want to do it. Right. I think there's a better way to do it too. You could do inline right here. We could just do it inline. So this returns the token. returns if we can. Here, return value. Use yeah. So what we're saying now is take the value of that is returned by scan starting with C. It's gonna set it into. It's gonna return a token and it's gonna return a boolean. And then we're gonna use a boolean at the end. Check if it's true. We're gonna then return. If it's false, we don't. Then we just have to rerun the test. Anything? It breaks. Oh, it's because I did. Oh, no. There. And I want to turn this into a switch case. So, fine. Here. And we just want to character is equal to A. We just our goal is to just make the call more readable and easy to find and add more to it, because I need to add more stuff in the future, and I want to make sure that it's straightforward for us to add more things and like find out where like, oh, okay, so this command is causing an issue, we should change it. Go here and change it. I just want to know where it is and how I change it. With the giant function that we have over there in the scanner, it's pretty hard to find anything. And then for C here, for L, we have to do the switch case. So, what? Do you get your server to work correctly? Oh, thank you so much for this, for subscribing. Oh yeah, so that's the next thing I should probably work on, is adding a way for storing subscriptions in the stream too. But yeah, thank you so much for subscribing. Attack Culper? Is that how you pronounce it? Oh yeah, so if you have Amazon Fry, oh, it's like helicopter. Ah, cool. Yeah, if you have Amazon Prime, you get a free subscription. So don't forget to subscribe with your Amazon Prime. I see. So it's like helicopter. So Taccopter. There you go. I think I got it. I'm just like refactoring my code. I made a mess. Cool. I will subscribe and watch it. You also get a founder badge for subscribing. if you start streaming, it's going very well. I finished it. So I finished writing it. It's just massive. So I have this ginormous function, and I'm just breaking it down. So like that's what I'm doing right now. So it's done. So one thing I did is that I wrote some tests. I ended up writing some tests for this. So I'm just splitting it up into its own files because it's so big that I sometimes lose track of it. So what I'm doing right now during the stream is just like going through it and making sure that I'm making it smaller. So so one thing that I was doing a lot was I was calling next a lot, right? I was calling like there was one part that I was calling next, like let's see, what is the biggest one? Yeah, so here I was calling next 11 times here, just in this one place. So what I ended up doing was like I ended up just taking out like I have this 11 times. So I was calling this 11 times. So what I ended up doing was I ended up creating a function. So I ended up calling this function called move forward, which is just a loop, and I could just pass a value to it. So I could pass 11 to it, and it will call next 11 times for me. So that's one of the changes that I did. What I'm doing now is just like taking pieces of the next token function and moving it to its own file, and then yeah, so I'm taking pieces of this ginormous function and just moving it to its own file. And then since I'm moving it to its own file, it's easier for me to go back and clean them up. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Sure. So the data that I'm parsing is this thing here. So one thing that I ended up doing was I rolled some test cases to make it easier for me to go back. So this is the different. So each line is a different case. So the first case is just so this is the first case here, right? So I'm parsing that. I'm parsing this whole thing, and then I am turning into this here. So what I'm doing is called I'm creating a parser that tokenizes things, right? What it means is that I'm able to take a message and then go character by character and then create tokens. So you could think of colon as a token, and then if there's a white space, it says white space. But in reality, I can use those tokens. So yeah, so this is data, and then I can use these tokens to write a parser. Yeah, so then I have the parser, right? And the parser is just looking for the specific tokens, right? So if I get a message in the chat, I could turn that message. So I know what the token that I'm getting. So I know that I'm getting a private message because. So again, same kind of test. Because here it says private message, and I'm creating a token out of it, right? So since I have a token that says private message, I know that is a message that someone's saying in the chat, right? Since I know that already, I could take that and look for it. So I'm looking for it here. So when I see it, I'm like, okay, so what I'm getting here is a message. So I should start building a message. So the message that I'm getting is type message. And then I just loop through it. So after I get the message, I could do a for loop where I just keep asking for the next token. And then I could start building the next token. So I could build like, oh, I want the channel. So I'm looking for the hash. So as you can see, there's a hash here. So before every channel, there's a hash. So I could be like, okay, so I have a hash. So that means that I'm getting a channel. So I could set that into the channel build. And same thing here happens here too. It's like, oh, I want the next message. Oh, this real chat data is just here. So it looks more complicated. So this is how you look at it. So this is what I'm going to be parsing. I haven't parsed it yet into so right now, like I am almost halfway to connecting it back into this here. But for now, we're just getting the raw messages here for me to look at. But this is how you look like. So when you send a message, you have like a founder badge, and you have the kind of subscription that you did. So you did Amazon Prime, so you have an Amazon Prime badge attached to it. So like that's kind of the different things. The goal is to be able to feed this information into the parser and then get it back in a structured way where I could use it to build the chat and things like that. But I think we're like 2 days away before I start using it to build like a UI out of it. But for now, I just want to clean up this mess because there is like a lot of stuff going on that it will be a lot easier for me to just handle after I clean up things that I created. Yeah. So yeah, thanks again for the subscription. So this is not a Twitch API. It's kind of it's called an IRC client. So the thing that's happening is that you have to connect to it. So you connect to it through a protocol called IRC, and then the Twitch. So you could listen for events in there. So Twitch has this Node.js API library that you could use. So if you want to try it out, you could just install this here. So I could send you the documentation if you want to try it out to yourself. But the client itself, most of the work that I'm doing is already done in this package here. But if I just wanted, so again, I'm relearning Go, so I wanted to go and like build something myself. But if you use this library, it's just straightforward. It does all the parsing for you and like all the messages and that. So it works the same way as a file system that we were using before. But yeah, so you could just use this. And another cool thing about this whole setup is that you could get your own tokens too. If you go here, this URL, and you press connect, you could get a token that you could just start using it. So you could start listening for events right away. So that's kind of the cool thing about the whole the way that the API is set up, the child API. And then I could let me know if that is like the message that is coming up there is very useful. I'm not sure if it's useful or not. But yeah, that's pretty much what that's kind of what I'm doing. It's just like I'm just using the IRC protocol, and I'm just gonna parse the message. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, so you could just use. I would just use that package with Node.js. Just take it and you could reuse it like that. It will be like super straightforward. Yeah, and you don't have to like, it does all the parsing for you and you get like all the information in a very nice way. So that means that you could just, I lost my, yeah. Yeah, so you can just use that for your server too. Sorry if I started following you, so let me know when you start. I will keep an eye when you start streaming. So it looks like our parser is still working correctly after making that change. Something is wrong with my language server where it gets stuck, but it's still working. Oh, I'm gonna be playing tonight, so I'm gonna be streaming myself playing tonight. Two friends and myself are gonna be playing some random games around 8. So I'm gonna be streaming myself playing games. So right now the list is Hyper, Valorant, a bit of League, and then there's a third one. We haven't finalized the list yet, but we're still figuring out like what we're gonna be streaming. But you could, if you have any suggestions, we could play it too. Like we ended up. Oh, you don't need it anymore. So it's open beta. So pretty much anyone. I think it's aiming open beta. I think it's open for everyone to play. So I think anyone could play it. Yeah, so anyone could play it. So you could play it if you want. Yeah, so anyone could play it. So we're gonna like just go around to the list and like I do have Steam. Yeah, I think everyone in the group has Steam, so we could also play the Steam game. So sorry, it's 8 p.m. Pacific time. Sorry, not Pacific, Eastern time. So like 7 Central and around like 5 Pacific. Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're gonna do tonight. So I think I know someone that plays a lot of CSGO, and he moved to use playing Valorant. I wonder if he's around. He usually watches my stream, but I don't think he. I'm not sure if he's around. I think he's a I think he's a pro player or a semi-pro player. I don't even know anymore. No, he's not around. But yeah, he's really good. I did set up channel points. So if you get to 3,000, I will cover your call in the stream. So you should watch this. You should just keep watching. Get some points. Also, you could start a survey. So you could mention like what kind of games we should play inside of the service. So that's the way I was thinking about it. Sure. I'll do it for free. Welcome. But yeah, I ended up building this. It looks very scary. I don't like how the function that is on the left came out. It looks so it looks very massive and like bad, really bad. So I'm just going through it. I'm just like moving things around and like making sure that it looks good. Thanks. I'm not sure about blowing up, but I'm okay by having people that enjoy watching me go and like get into weird places. Also teaching people. I enjoy teaching people a lot, so. It's like one of the things that I enjoy a lot. I should. So, well, the thing that happens is like, since I'm talking most of the time, I have to make sure that the music doesn't have any it's like copyright free. But I will take that suggestion and see if I could add a poll or something like that to add music. Yeah. So like the music itself has to be cannot be too if it's copywritten, I'll get muted. So I don't want to get muted. Like I could do it for the beginning, but like that's pretty much it. I cannot do it afterward. Yeah, so I don't want to get muted. So it's kind of one of these. Like I will do it, but one of the bad things will be like the chances of me getting muted are very, very, very close. Ooh, that's good to know. Maybe I should use that one for gaming. So when we're playing games, you can use that one. I would take it as a suggestion and look for it. Yeah, so when you're streaming or when you start streaming, just be mindful of the music that you play. If you so the thing that I'm doing is that I want to I am taking I wanted the highlights and the recordings not to be muted. But if you stream yourself and then you save the recording of your games or your stream and you have copy music that you don't own the copyright for it, the video will be muted. So like if someone's rewatching your game, they won't be able to hear you or hear the music or anything. Like Twitch will just mute you. Okay, so I added that to my list of music that I could play during the stream. So I will look it up after the stream. Thank you so much for the suggestion. Yeah, I'm doing that too. So, but right now I'm just listening to the same music that is going through. Yeah, I also did the same thing for Discord too. So, I split up Discord into I have Discord in its own audio device. So if I'm playing with some friends and they don't want to be part of the stream, I could just disconnect that from the stream. Also, you have some friends. If you have a friend that gets very angry while playing, why don't you mute that person? You don't want them to come after you screaming at you. But yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be doing tonight. So I'm going to be testing that setup tonight and make sure that it works correctly. So I'm going to play with some friends. And then, yeah. So this one's a bit more difficult to change because we're calling something called scan simpler message, and I will have to change that. Yeah, I would probably be angry if I was playing and like trying to build something and the server just shuts down and then it just starts again. It shuts down and starts again. I would be so angry at it. Like, come on, just. You didn't even post a message in the server saying, hey, the server's gonna go offline. It was more like, oh, the server's offline. I think that was very funny. Oh, you did? Oh, I didn't know that you posted a message. I just thought that you just turned it off. Oh, okay. That's better. Oh, I see. It's then their fault for joining when you told them that it's gonna go. It happens sometimes. Then they kind of come back to you and be like, "Oh, you didn't tell me," because you told them, and you shut down the server. Like you told them before it went down. Oh, I also created some emotes, but they're being approved right now. Yeah, I created 3 of them, but they're still under approval. So the thing that happens is every time you update them or make any changes to them, you have to go through the approval process. So I made 3 of them. I should check where they are, but yeah, you have to wait. Yeah. Also, that you're not like doing any copyright. Yeah, it's still pending. But I found one that I really liked. I can show it to you. I found one that I really like, which the person was like, you could use it for whatever you want. So I just ended up taking some of those. Oh wait, I think I lost it. I could find it. So the programming language that I'm using, the mascot of it is something called Golfers. So they use something called Golfers, and they are well known. Like people use it. People like create multiple things out of them. So what I ended up looking for was like Golfer that I could use as part of the stream. So I ended up looking at some of the science ones, and then there's like one called Mistake. So I like this one a lot. It's just, so this is the mascot of the language. So for context, I'm using a language called Go that was created at Google like 10 years ago or something like that. Their mascot is a golfer. So it's a golfer. So what I ended up doing was I ended up looking for some vectors that I could use. So there is this one where it's a scientist on fire. So I ended up using that one. And then there is one more that I like a lot. So I ended up liking this one a lot. So it's a rocket one. That's the ones that I use. So you only get 3 slots. So you get one for tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So you could only have 3 of them at a time. I'm not sure. So you can only have 3 tiers. Sorry, you have 1 slot per tier, and that means that you can only have 1 emote per tier until you get to 15 subscribers. After 15 subscribers, you could get 1 more slot, and you just get more. You just keep getting more slots as people start subscribing more to your channel. So what I did was just use my my 1 slot for that. Also, I used another one too. It's like a so I am part of a programming meetup. So I'm part of a meetup group in here when I live. So they have a cool icon. So I just ended up also using their icon. So no, that's okay. People could just subscribe if they want. So so for the first tier, I made this one. I used this one here. So this is the one I'm gonna be using for tier. But they need to be approved before I could use it. I'm not sure if I could donate too, so I might just end up donating a few so we could get to 15. And I might end up hiring someone to make more for us. So after I get more slots, maybe I could get someone to do it for us. Sure. Look at it. Cool. Do you see what my points are called? I was thinking of making the icon 0 and 1, but it feels like people might not like. I don't sure how useful that will be. So I'm just still refactoring as I go. So like, I want to make sure that this function gets smaller. Okay. And let me see. Wait, do I open? Have it open? I hope it doesn't open. Give me a second. I'll be right. I want to make sure that I'm afraid that Discord is gonna show up in the wrong window. So give me a second. I'm gonna put the standby screen on. There we go. So just there is some. I don't want to show the Discord chats that I'm in because some of them are not faithful. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, I would definitely use that one. Yeah. No, I like it. I like it a lot. I would use it definitely. So I might have to. I'm not sure if it has the background. I'm not sure if the background is not transparent or not. But if it's not, I could just figure out how to remove it. But yeah. Thank you for that. I like it a lot. Yeah, I could just I could there is something called ink escape or something like that, and I'm trying to learn how to use it, so I could do it there. Yeah, I could use that. I like it a lot. Thank you so much. Yeah, I could also make it. So I could make the inside green. Also, if you have any ideas of what the points you give, let me know. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking about. Like, make the background transparent, and then make it green. So I am learning Photoshop or learning how to do it. So, so I should try it. Let me try it because I want to try it out first because I'm trying to learn how to do these things myself too. Because I want to make sure that I know how to do certain things. Because at some point, so here's the master plan, the grand plan of me streaming is that at some point I'm gonna get over the part of setting up my stream, and then I'm gonna do other stuff, right? One of those things could be like building a 2D game, because I always wanted to build a 2D, build a 2D game is one of my dreams, so I could do that too during the stream. So if to do that, I need to learn how to do Photoshop because well, not Photoshop, just you learn how to do a image service, image software, so I could start building the characters myself. So that's kind of what I'm trying to achieve here too. It's like I want to just get a feeling for streaming, and as well as at some point start working on building, like start building a game or do things that I felt like I never had time to build. So. It could be very fun, right? So like as long as like as long as I'm enjoying it and someone is learning something, I'm down for trying new things like that. So that's kind of like what I've been thinking about the streaming itself. It's like I want to play some games, but I also wanted just like learn new things as part of the stream too, because like that will give me the better chance to do it. Like this hour or 2 hours that I have for streaming, is for me to learn something new or just teach people or like chat with the chat. So to hang out. I do like the points a lot. I like that bar a lot, so that looks very cool. So I'm still going through parsing stuff, just making sure that we are again making the main function that we're using for passing tokens smaller. So I'm just still doing that. So again, it's like it's a monstrosity. It's so massive that I don't want to leave it as it is for now. Like we could move on to writing the parser itself, and leave the scanner for like refactoring the scanner for later. But like I feel like it's so messy that if I leave it for later, I probably wouldn't come back to it, or like we might get stuck. At some point, I will have to come back to it because it's so messy, and it's causing a lot of issues. If I don't come back to it and there's a bug, I will have to spend time debugging, and I don't want it. Welcome to the next one. Let's skip that. These ones are fun. Yeah, these ones are fun. Turn them into. It's fine. It's fine. So this still needs to happen before anything else. So we might end up kind of getting to the end of the file. I want to make sure that we are there. And I could turn all of this into this. Yeah, let's turn. Make sure that the code is readable and reusable, because when we start building more things on top of it, if our parser, our scanner is having issues or anything like that, we will have to come back and like figure out where the issue is happening. And if the code is not readable, and I go back to it and I don't send it after like not seeing it for like a few weeks, it's gonna be very painful to figure out how to fix any bugs. That's pretty much it. I also want to make sure that from time to time I'm here and that is right. Yeah. And I want to test too. Yeah, you can subscribe now. So if you have Amazon Prime, so since I got 50 followers and a set of and like three or more viewers in average for my stream, I became an affiliate. So that means that I get to so I get subscriptions. So I get subs. Yeah. So if you have Amazon Prime, you could subscribe to my channel for free, and you have to pay for it. And then what you get from it is that you might have seen the pre-roll ad. You should definitely do that. You should connect it to your Twitch account. I bet that's what Chris did. So Chris probably did the same thing. But if you so if I get the first 10 subscribers, get a founder badge. So if you look at Tacopter name, if you're here when he was chatting, you could see that he has like a first badge, like a founder badge. So you get one of those if you subscribe before the 10th. If you're if you're number 10, you get it. If you're number 9, you get it too. You also get to skip the pre-roll ad. So if you didn't notice, I'm not sure if you saw it or if you have like an ad blocker on, but if you the first time you start watching the stream, there's a pre-roll ad. Which when you become an affiliate, you start seeing those too. And then if I take a break, a pre-roll ad is gonna run too. But the best part of all this is that I also get my own emotes. So I put them for approval. So I was telling a Tacopter that I created one with the Gopher Batman, and then there is I also made one with this one here. So they will be on lag as when they get approved. So right now we're just waiting for approval. It could take up to it could take up to like 2 weeks or 3 weeks for them to get approved. But after 60 days, if you don't have any strikes against you, they just drop instantly. So hopefully I don't get any strikes. But you should definitely use your parents' Amazon account, and you should link it to your Twitch account. You also get free games too. As part of Amazon, I think it's Prime Games now. Yeah, Prime Games now. They give you free games where you can just download them. The game for free. I'm not sure how you feel about this function, Mark. It's a ginormous function that I created. It has like, I think it's like 400 lines of code. Yeah, so I ended up splitting it up. So I created one for like, so the thing that happens is like, so I'm parsing each character. No, it works, yeah. So I made it work first, and then I'm now refactoring it. So the way it works is just like a giant, like it just goes each character one by one and creates tokens for them. So I think my editor doing something here. It doesn't want to save. Ooh, that one looks nice. Let's see. Download it. Okay. This might be the core we're going to be using for our points. Tacopter painted it for us, so we might end up using this. I'm not sure. So yeah, so that's I'm gonna add that after the stream. That would be our points. Oh, is it chat subscriber only? It shouldn't be subscriber only. I might have. Oh, I messed up really bad. Like it shouldn't be subscriber only. I don't know how that got turned on. Oh, that sucks. Sorry. It wasn't meant to be subscriber only. Well, thank you for subscribing. And that explains why Mark could talk, because Mark is a moderator, so he could automatically could talk. But it wasn't meant to be subscribers only. I have to figure out how to turn that off, because that is very demotivating. Okay, how about now? Yeah, I was able to turn it off. Yeah. It wasn't meant to be subscriber only. I think it automatically turns on when you become an affiliate. I didn't check that. Well, that's too bad. Because like I feel like if it motivates people from chatting. I thought about it. Yeah, I thought about it. But for now, I only have 50 followers. So like, I'm not sure how much should I put it. Should I do like 1,000 or something like that? Oh, sorry, not 1,000, like 10,000. Maybe how about 500? I also made it that you can only redeem 2 of them in the stream. Yeah, I'm gonna do 5,000. So I made it that you can only redeem 2 of them in one stream. Because like I think a good okay. Is that better? Oh, okay. 1 4. Okay, I can try that out. Well, that's the computer I'm gonna be using for the stream. So, for coding, I prefer to use a Mac. So that's it. So I'm gonna be using the Mac for I only use it for coding, and then I use the PC for gaming. I also use it for if I'm doing like anything that needs a GPU, so I use the PC too. Okay, I changed it. I also, yeah, so now the chat should be good. It was not meant to be subs only. So yeah, should be good now though. Sure, I will also take suggestions. So a friend suggested I should do a YouTube series of myself programming too. Teach people how to do something. Hey SSP 214, how's it going? Sorry that shop was only meant for subs only. That'd be cool, but I don't have any smart bolts, so you have to get like some cool like light bolts that are attached. Oh, but if you there is I do have a Arduino board, so it could happen. Okay, I see. No, I do have an Arduino board. It would be cool to do with an Arduino board too. It's like have some lights that flickers. That could be cool though. Yeah. So maybe like after I am done with all this mess that I'm getting myself into, that could be the next thing that we look into. We'll just make a list. Like I have a list of things that I want to do. Or things that I have done. Then check it off. Yeah, but you don't want to be doing that. Like that will get you in trouble. Like, oh yeah, I created this thing in school. Now I'm gonna make it at my house. No. Sounds very dangerous. Try to avoid it. Wait, it sounds cool. Very funny. Yeah, it could be cool to do that, right? But after a certain point, it goes from being cool to being dangerous. Yeah, you see, you got in trouble. I'm glad no one got hurt though. So I'm gonna just continue streaming for the next like 15 minutes, and then we're gonna try to raise someone. Because it could be cool to raise someone. I think someone. See who's online. Not raise. Raid. So yeah. So we could find someone that be cool for us to raid. Okay. So I got someone. So you might enjoy him. Attack Doctor. He does a lot of Node.js. In case you're not following, it's called Cold Garden. Courting Garden. He's very fun to watch, and he's pretty much building this. He's working like he has been streaming for like a long time, like 4 years or something like that. And he's like very he's really cool to watch. He's always like giving feedback, and he writes a lot of JavaScript. So he does a lot of JavaScript, and like he's always helping too. I like him a lot, and for some reason today he's streaming a lot, so we are gonna rate him. Hopefully he's not going away. So how do you rate? So if you're inside of if you use the command line in the oh, he's playing the guitar, we should just rate him now. So let's do that. So I'm gonna continue writing this off screen later, but I'm gonna drop off. But in this chat, if you type /ray and then you type the name of the channel that you want to go ray, you could then ray them. Oh, it's just a channel. Right now. So I will be in Discord, like around 7, so we could hang out. But then I will start streaming again. So I'm just gonna take a break now and then start streaming again. So let's do the Ray, because I'm not sure how long he's gonna be around. But it's gonna be cool to Ray him. Say hi to him. He's very cool. He's very cool. I hope you guys like him. I will see you guys like at 8 for the stream.